on YouTube. And 3, 2, 1.
From DOATW.com and Abby Wessels. This is Diary of a Trans Woman, a transgender story told week by week. I'm EJ Kaiser, and you can support us at patreon.com/Diary of a Trans Woman. Pledge today, just like it's 2014 all over again.
Oh, hi, everybody. My name is Abby, and we're back. This is episode 82 of Diary of a Trans Woman. It's a lovely September 21st. I am joined all the way from CHI by my BFF in Chicago. How you doing?
Oh,
I got that right.
yeah, you nailed it. Also, this is episode 81.
What did I say?
Episode 82.
What?
You
Okay, yeah, it's 81.
checked the
I've had a long day.
Uh,
I've had a long week.
I've had a long life, okay?
True, yeah, you're so much older than me.
I'm hitting the life expectancy for us people.
Oh, no, yeah, and we're gonna talk about kind of what's been going on because it's pertinent to the topic of this show. But EJ, how you been doing?
Oh, I'm all right. It's man, we've been off for 2 weeks.
Yeah, somebody had a dinner party that they scheduled on a Thursday night and didn't get back until like midnight. So
Yeah, midnight your time, but like 11
Midnight.
real America.
Who measures things in Central Time? It's always Eastern Time.
Okay, left coast hippie.
Eastern Time Zone is the only time zone that matters.
I've never heard of it.
Not Pacific, not Mountain Time, and certainly not Central Time. East Coast, only time.
All
East
right,
Coast, only time.
New York liberal. Have fun in your bubble.
I'm closer to you than I am to New York, I think so.
Hmm.
Which, speaking of which, I think 2 weeks and my butt will be on a plane out to New York, so I'm looking forward to that.
2 weeks ago, I was in New York, so it's symmetrical.
You East Coast New York liberal.
Whatever, man. I'm back here in real America.
What did I hear? Chicago's Chicago's known for its orange glow, but now they're gonna lose that because they got to replace all the light bulbs with LEDs.
Yeah, they're changing out all the light bulbs, which I guess I don't know. I guess it was a something about just the brand of lights that was used however long ago. And they're like, all right, we're finally getting rid of this and getting back to more natural lighting.
The lease of Thomas Edison brand light bulbs has gone out and run its course.
I mean,
It's
you know
not.
what? I grew up in a neighborhood here in Chicago called Edison Park.
Uh-huh.
It's called that was because it was the first town to use like electric light bulbs in the Chicago area, and they named it after Thomas Edison, and there was a whole correspondence, and he never was here, but they just named it after him.
And never mind the fact that Thomas Edison was an asshole and stole the invention for the light bulb. Kids, read your history books. Ask your parents.
God, this
Thomas Edison was a dick.
sure.
Anyways,
Let's all pledge allegiance to MRA hero Nikola Tesla.
yes, I love Tesla. He's got that mustache. Thomas Edison just looks like a grumpy old man.
I named my cat after Tesla way before it became trendy and annoying. And now when I tell
Way
people,
before Tesla.
Yeah,
You got an old cat.
yeah, 2008. That's why I named it that.
Yeah, that was definitely before Tesla.
Yeah.
Like the car, not the. Okay, never mind.
I was on top of it, man. I was thinking about some of my favorite figures from history.
You had those. You had those future powers, and you decided to use those future powers to name a cat before the name got popular.
Yeah, I'm good at that. And not only that, but it's a girl cat.
I mean, Tesla is a pretty gender neutral name.
Is
I
it?
Tesla. I
So-
could definitely see Tesla having a feminine undertone.
Which I'm real lucky because we didn't know it was a girl cat when we got it.
Why is it so much harder to tell with cats?
Oh, because they got little tiny genitals.
I mean, okay, yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, like when I was in college, we had a cat named oh crap, Juno. Cat's name was Juno, and I forgot it because me and my girlfriend at the time just called the cat Potato. Um, and we found out Potato was a boy, and so we just Potato was the transgender cat of the household.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that was a thing. Anyways, we can probably move on to like more show stuff at this point, but
I don't know, man. My cat talk is important. I
your,
mean,
your cat talk is important.
Jesus Christ, 75% of our audience is probably cat girls. So
Yeah.
we all got kitty ears somewhere, man.
Wait, is that more? Oh, because tradition, like I don't know. I'm definitely more of a dog girl.
No, I'm a cat girl.
What's the? We need to have a straw poll. Well, we're gonna put a straw poll on the Facebook and the Twitter after this at some point. And
Uh,
after this means like any time after this, so it might be like tomorrow. It might be like 3 years from now, depending on how if we remember.
I'm sure we'll remember, but is cat girls.
It's no, it's I think that the divide is going to be a lot more balanced. I think there's going to be just as many dog girls as there are cat girls when it comes to trans people.
Oh, you naive slut. All right, let's
You know
see.
what? Bring it. Like what? Let's put it on the table. Like who? What are we going to barter here?
Oh
I
gosh.
will. I will bet you within 10%, it'll be 50-50.
So you think it's going to be at worst 40-60 either way?
Yes.
I'll take that bet.
All right. What are we betting?
What are we going to bet? Jeez. Ugh.
Crap. I don't really have much to bet. I don't know.
I don't know.
Like a 10,000th of a Bitcoin.
We need suggestions.
All right. Yeah, we do.
Someone Slack channel. Give us
Is
an idea.
anybody in the Slack right now?
I don't know.
Nope, nobody's in the Slack.
Uh, maybe maybe let's make it thematic.
Tell you what, let's just buy a drink for well, you don't drink, so crap. We'll figure it out later. But I'm gonna win, so we'll figure out what you're gonna give me later.
Okay. What I was saying, how about if I win, you get to take a picture with some cute little kitty ears and
Oh
you
God, no, don't make me do that.
well, you're gonna win, right?
All right,
Are you?
you gotta put on a Wilford costume. You gotta put on a dog costume and do that. So, anyways, let's talk about me for a bit. Um,
Finally, like we haven't done enough of that over the past
this
80.
was something like I messaged you earlier today, and like we need to talk about this because shit's been going down in my world, and it's kind of terrible. I have had just the most terrible week ever, and it's ugh. And I think I may know there's probably like three different things that are causing it, but I don't know which one is doing it. Like it's one of three things, or it could be all three things all together. Um, so to make kind of a long story short, I changed buildings where I work. And if anybody remembers me talking back in, oh, what episode was it? Episode 72. That's 10 weeks ago. Holy cow. Episode 72 was a talk about a relationship that had blown up for me and had um, culminated in some very, very severe and blatant abuse allegations pointed in my direction, and um, a, a suicide attempt on my part. And just we talked about how I dealt with that. Um, I don't want to get too far into it because even though I am still not happy with how things ended with them, I had made a promise not to dive into it, and I don't plan on it. However, one of the things that you may remember from that episode is I wound up getting one of my ex-partners a job at the place that I work. And so far, up to this point, things have been fine. For the past 10 weeks, I've been recovering steadily and doing well. And she's been working in a different building. However, last minute, last Thursday, so a week a week ago today, um, I got word that I was going to be moving buildings. My team was now moving into the building that she is working in. And that just immediately set off a bunch of anxiety. And that anxiety affected my work performance. And that killed it's killing my chance at a commission check, which I do kind of rely on. And just so many things are going on. And I am finding myself I sit at my desk all day and I'm hyper alert. Monday and Tuesday were just the worst. Just hyper alert, hyper defensive, like jumping at every random sound, thinking that I'm going to bump into her. It's a huge building. It's a 9-story building, by the way. And I know that she's not even on the same floor as me. But just positive that I'm going to jump into an elevator or go down to grab lunch or whatever. I don't want to walk anywhere. I don't want to wander the building by myself. I don't want to go and grab lunch on the food floor that they have, because I don't want to run into her. I want her gone from my life because that's how I've been able to recover. Um, and so there's just been a ton of anxiety from that. I walk 3/4 of a mile back to my parking lot at the end of the day because I don't want to run the chance of running into her on the shuttle. Um, I bought for myself a while. I can't remember if I talked on the show about this. But I a few weeks ago bought a extending police baton, and I love it. It's 21 inches long. It is, oh, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's a really nice baton. And I cannot imagine a time when I would ever like pull that out in front of my ex. However, I carry it in my inside pocket of my leather jacket that I wear around, and just being able to feel that in my jacket, it gives me a sense of security. And so I have found that when I am nervous or anxious, I fiddle with it, and that seems to help me a little bit. But that's what I've been dealing with all week. And to top it all off, work has been going terrible. I'm not performing the way I want to. I was trying to move to a different position. I got through a phone interview and an in-person interview, and then wound up not being selected at the end, so that sucked. Um, I met up with somebody new, and that's given me a whole bunch of feelings and just a whole bunch of crap. And I realize I think that number one, definitely being in proximity to somebody who caused you a bunch of trauma is not good for your mental health. It's just not good. Maybe I'll eventually get through it, but essentially a wound that was healing over just had the scab torn off. Number two, my psych meds might be out of whack. Currently, I'm on Lexapro and Wellbutrin, and up until recently, they have been lifesavers for me, quite literally in some senses. Um, However, they might need to be looked at, I think, because I should not be like this. And so I'm going to make sure I get that taken. I'm going to have somebody take a peek at that as soon as I can. And number three, I realized actually about an hour or two ago, I am laying down on my bed. I brought my little, we have a little Rottweiler puppy at my house. Brought her down and we were cuddling on the bed and watching some Battlestar Galactica. And she was being such a good dog. And she's so cute. And she was looking all cute and stuff. And I found myself starting to tear up. And I remember talking with Dr. Powers when he had first started me on injections, and he talked about the side effects of having a insanely high estrogen level. And he had mentioned like when you see a dog, you will cry. And so I'm wondering if that has an issue to it as well. And I wonder if that brought about just the crazy mood swings, and they're not even swings, but just very intense moods. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, EJ?
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
It
It,
seems. Man, I'm getting
I'm getting.
on my. That's the good.
What's that?
I'm getting some. I'm getting. I'm hearing my all of a sudden.
Oh, you're cutting in and out for me. I don't know what's going on.
I have no idea. I'm on wired connection.
Um,
I'm just gonna lower down that bandwidth a little bit. Yeah, there we go.
that's perfect.
Perfect. Cool. So
This is an award-winning podcast.
so many awards, so many legitimate awards.
We bring you the best.
So I don't know. It doesn't seem completely unusual that you would cry when you see a dog, man. That seems like part of the female experience. I think I've seen enough.
But I thought you said trans people don't like dogs.
I mean, women, people with estrogen.
True.
I didn't say they don't like dogs. I say they ain't dog girls.
Okay.
I think you might be misunderstanding like cat dash.
I get.
Yeah.
Are we going to spend half the podcast talking about this?
Yeah, I'm talking some furry shit, man. All right.
That's a whole different show.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it seems like something I've seen enough scribbly comic strips shared on Facebook about, just cis women who see a dog and start crying. It's
Yeah.
the thing. So I mean, I'm not super surprised by that. I don't know. I feel things. I had before I started on the lady juice, on the,
Injections.
on the injectors, on the spironolactins, whatever, like pre HRT. Um, I had like so much trouble crying, like I could not.
Right? Same. I
It,
used to get so pissed at myself because I would just have like the shittiest experience ever, and I'd just sit in the shower and be like, "You can do this. You need to get this out. Why can't you cry?"
right, and sometimes it would come out as anger, and I was not happy with that.
Yeah.
Um, and then I don't know, like recently, everything. I don't know. I've been feeling just like friendships with a lot more emotion. I've been, just I just become I I do a lot more crying,
Yup.
and things are tense to some level, and I mean certainly at some level for me, I feel like I never feel things quite as intensely as I would like, but
Hmm.
that's I have felt that way.
I mean, I definitely don't think that. I don't know.
A matter of degree,
Yeah, and I don't think, and I've definitely been. I mean, there has been a lot more crying this week than normally has happened. I know Monday I just kind of got home and I was so physically taxed by the entire day that I just broke down.
Yeah, little bitch.
That was
Oh, gotta throw it.
I'm gonna throw some expletives at you that won't after we get off the air because I want to keep our clean tag.
Oh, oh,
Um, no, yeah, it's you know
dog.
what, if I have to have that title in order to be able to cry, fine, I'll take it.
You're a dog girl, so little bitch.
Oh my god,
I mean, we've established that you're small.
oh my god, stop.
Oh, itsy bitsy Abby. Oh.
Just because I'm shorter than you doesn't mean no god.
Oh, you love me.
I don't know what to say.
Remember that
Like,
time when you really
I was gonna talk about like a deep introspective like look into my emotional core, but now I
okay,
cried. I cried and
I'll be quiet.
I didn't I didn't like crying, but at the same time I didn't like feeling that strong of an emotion like when I didn't want it, but at the same time just like breaking down and just flushing everything out through my tear ducts like I think helps. And it's something it's one of the things I'm really glad it's a side effect of hormones that I find to be very refreshing. I like that I can express my emotions a little bit more. However, that is a double-edged sword, so
I don't know. I've been a little emotional this week as well.
what?
I've been a little emotional this week this as well. I've been feeling it a few times.
Yeah.
Had a few bouts of crying on the phone. Oh,
Yeah. Life just sucks, doesn't it?
it's rough.
Rough. It's like a dog. Rough.
Oh, rough.
Ah,
All sorts of dog jokes.
I
Hey,
know, yeah, because dogs are the best.
remember that time when you really passionately told me that I made the podcast so much better?
You do. You had a little controversy. Otherwise, I'm just arguing by myself. So,
About dogs and me interrupting your passionate emotional monologues.
oh, oh, so something else happened. Shortly after the whole fiasco, that I went through, I had contacted a therapy group here in town, a therapist office, and I had been on the waiting list for the past 2 months, and I finally got the call and had my first therapy session last Saturday. There's finally somebody who works weekends who can see me, which I'm very happy about because I think that I need to have a good therapist in my life. I need to have a good therapist. So hopefully this person is a good therapist. However, right off the bat, I am put a little bit on edge because he's a cis guy. And I kind of right off the bat feel a little bit uneasy opening up to a cis guy.
Yeah.
Discuss.
I had I had a relationship counselor years ago who was a cis guy, and I didn't know exactly what to expect, and I'm not. I don't know. I mean, it was an earlier part of my transition and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, it was real tough working with him. Like we got kind of to a point where he was just like, "Well, it doesn't seem like you guys have any issues right now," and I was like,
Hmm.
"Uh." Okay. Like I wasn't super happy with it, but I didn't really know what to say anymore.
Yeah.
Got a little checked out. I don't know. I mean, I when I was seeking out a new therapist, I forget if I've talked about this on the show, but last year, I left a therapist who I'd been seeing for like on and off for over a decade. I saw her in high school, and I stopped seeing her for a few years, and I started up again. And just because it became clear to me that she was like incredibly unethical and emotionally manipulative, and just like it was really like, have I told this story
You
before?
told me before. I think you've told me a couple times. I don't know if you've told it on the show though.
So like one of the toward the end of my time with her. So last summer I lost my job.
Hmm.
And it was because my company, like, all of a sudden the markets got shook, and they had to lay off half their workforce and all that. And so, I wasn't too worried about finding a new job, but money was kind of tight for a little while. I was already working on some financial. I was like refinancing my mortgage, and I was doing a few things. And it's just like I had maxed out credit card. I had a big problem with credit card debt at the time, um, that I only recently started to address. So I was going to see my therapist, and I was saying, it's just like, well, I really want to make sure wherever I work next that I'm going to be able to be productive and, get a lot done. And I like to be able to, like, maybe if I have to pursue something, if I want to, get some more stuff done over the next few weeks, things like that. And she said, it was just like, well, what you need to do is get out of the house. And, there's so many distractions when you're at home. You want to be able to go to a coffee shop or go to something like that and be able to work there. And I was like, well, I can't because my laptop was from my work
Yeah.
and I don't have one. And she's like, well, how about this? She said that she wanted a website. And I mean, I'm a software developer. And she said, if things work out, she would pay me to do her website, and I could use that money to get myself a laptop. And it was just like, at that point we'd seen each other for so long. I was like, okay. I was still very much in denial at the time about how, but I mean, that should have been everyone who I've told that story to since then.
Yeah.
Huge red flag. But at the time I was very much
Unethical being employed by either like unofficially employed by your therapist.
right. And so, like, we went back and forth a few times. Occasionally she like took up entire sessions just like talking about her website, and like being very scatterbrained and not knowing what she wanted, and just like it was really awful until like one day I was like, I had gone to a roller derby practice on a Wednesday night, and I bumped my head a little bit, and I was just like, I think, this might be a concussion. I'm not sure. I better play it safe. And I messaged her and I said, uh, hey, I can't come tonight. I bumped my head last night. I think I might have a concussion, so I'm not saying safe. I'm not, just trying to play it safe until then. Um, I messaged her that, and she messaged me back. She's like, uh, "Oh no, I hope you feel better. When can we meet to talk about the website?"
Oh,
And I told her I am heading to urgent care right now. And because I didn't want to, I was like, this is really inappropriate, but I don't want to overthink it. I just told her I'm going to urgent care right now, and he said, I hope you're okay. Have you ever considered not skating? Like,
God.
text, she suggested that I quit my pastime while I was, and it's just like,
One of the biggest things that have been like, I imagine that's something that really kept you going.
right. And I messaged her back. It's just like, I really would rather not discuss this over text.
Yeah.
Uh, and after that, I mean, I chewed her out really bad the next session. And I, she asked me if I was looking for someone else. And I was like, yeah, a little bit. I've been looking around. She said, well, I don't think you should, switch. So we've been seeing each other for so long that I don't think you should, switch to a therapist. Like, really? That's okay, cool. Conflict of interest.
There's no bias there.
So I eventually found I have a great new therapist, and I was like, I got recommendations from the Queer Health Center here in town. They at Howard Brown, what they do is they keep a list of like ones that they recommend, and then they will, like, if they ever get a single complaint about any of them, they will cross them off the list. And so I just gave them the name of mine, and so she's blacklisted there, thankfully. But I was like looking through the list, and I think I got a referral from a referral. And I pretty much went for, the one of the people on the list was a woman of color. And I was just like, in my gut, I was just like, this seems like a good idea. I mean, I just came from, seeing a white lady for a very long time, and it just went really poorly. And I was just like,
Mix up.
this might be good. I'm gonna do that. And I was just like, I felt kind of weird about, just going straight for woman of color. But then it came up in our input session. She said, it's like, oh well, I think it's really important that we, talk about our identities. And it was just like, yeah, that's one of the reasons I called. And like
Mhm.
that, it was so disarming right away. Like she's uh, that like I was immediately ready to like really reassured me. And so she's, a woman of color. She used to be like the head of just something psychiatric at the queer community center here in town. Like she used to be,
It sounds so official.
yeah, it was a cool role she had. I mean, she knows her stuff, and she's been so good. I've been seeing her for almost a year now.
Cool.
I'm so much happier with her. But I, went into it, and I specifically, from the list, I picked out a woman of color, and it's
And I get that. I have had things pop into my head before where it's like, I'm not going as a white trans woman, I am not going to come close to thinking of equating my experiences with a black cis woman or a person of color. Um, However, there is a certain shared knowledge of intersectionality,
yeah.
seemingly.
I
Like,
mean,
I know what it's like to be a woman and queer and trans, and she would know what it's like to be a person of color and a woman and how those identities interact. So she should have a bit more of an appreciation for it. I get that.
right.
Now, I have made that assumption about other people, specifically people in my workplace who work a few positions above me in places of power.
Sure.
Um, a female person of power or a female person of color, um, who I assumed would be um, a little bit more respectful of the intersectionality was definitely she let her ignorant flag fly.
So I mean, like here was the thing for me is that I mean, everybody, you can't forgive, trans or queer people for being racist. You can't, there's no pass for people of color for being,
Transphobe. Yeah.
homophobic, transphobic. Um, but given no other information, I mean, you don't know. You're given a list of names, and you can Google a little bit and see,
Mhm.
what they have about themselves online. But there's only so much you can learn, and that was one thing. That was just like I decided to just call her about it. I mean, also, I mean, my wife is a woman of color. My girlfriend is a person of color. Um, I mean, it's just something where I called her, and I didn't want to bring that up, and then it
Yeah.
came out because she started talking about identities. So I was very pleasantly, I wouldn't say surprised, but I was just like, I was happy that it hashed out that way, you know?
I wonder if she comes into that a lot. I wonder if you're not the only person that did that with that thought in mind, and that's why it's addressed. I
Maybe,
don't know.
maybe it's just I stopped trusting white people.
And yeah, and I don't really trust white cis men that much. Um, so this is going to be interesting with my new therapist. I have a session next Saturday, so we'll see how that goes. I told him during the first session, like, I'm hesitant to open up to you because you're a cis guy.
Sure.
I did a little research on him. I think he got his degree in Milwaukee, in Wisconsin. So he's probably like
We'll play it.
plays hockey and shit.
Ugh,
I don't
cool.
know. I'm not ready to make blanket statements just yet, but my guard is up a little bit.
That's understandable. I've been seeing a nutritionist too recently because I have ARFID. I have avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, which I'm sure I can go on about at length in a future episode.
I
Uh,
think we should. Yeah.
yeah, but my I have been seeing a nutritionist about it, and I've been very like straightforward with her, and it's just like honestly, I do not think this is going to work, but I don't know what else to do, so I'm gonna keep on coming here and hoping I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
it's hard to be that honest about it.
I mean, when you get down to like, this is the only guy that works weekends. And with my work schedule, the only time during the week that I could see somebody would be from 7 to 8 on Fridays. And that's just that's a very tight schedule to work with. And so finally somebody has come along and said, okay, I'll work weekends. I got to jump on that
Yeah,
because this is an office that is very, very well respected when it comes to queer poly relationships, kink relationships, um, just all this kind of stuff. And I've heard nothing but good things. So I really don't have much else to do. Like my meds aren't doing what they're supposed to do. I'm gonna get that looked at, but I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Um,
I've switched psychiatric meds a whole bunch of times trying to find what'll work for me. Right now, I'm on one of the
yeah.
fancy newer ones alongside my Wellbutrin. I'm also on Vibreed.
Mhm.
I think I started taking because the previous one killed my sex drive, and it was another newer one whose name I don't remember. But
Yeah.
the
What about, I mean, mine, I, yeah, my sex drive can be killed, but it didn't kill my sex drive, but it killed my sex ability. But
oh yeah, well I mean I have that too.
yeah.
Been a tough week.
Yup. But I mean, Lexapro worked for me, so I stayed on it. And I don't really look forward to switching because I know getting used to a new drug is not easy. Like it takes your body a hot second to go, holy shit, what's going on? Okay, this is the new norm. We'll get used to this. So I
uh,
don't know, but I guess I don't really have another choice as far as therapy goes.
yeah, I mean beats the alternative, and yeah, I
Yeah,
mean like
coming on here and talking to you about random stuff.
right, yeah, I'm tremendous. I'm so fun to talk to.
You're a cat person. I can't trust you.
Right? Ah, us real Americans. Gosh.
Anyways, you ready to? You got anything else? You want to jump into the news?
No news, baby. Let's
All
news.
right, let's do news.
News.
News. News. News. Are you meow? Are you meowing?
Oh, I'm singing the News Girl song.
You
Meow.
ever, you ever listened to Newsboys before?
Newsboys.
Newsboys, yeah, they're a Jesus Jams band.
No, I haven't.
I used to listen to them all the time growing up because I was a church family.
Yeah, my
A song about breakfast.
no, my mom
Toast is burned and all the milk has turned, and Captain Crunch is waving farewell.
meow.
When the big one finds you, may this song remind you that they don't serve breakfast in hell.
Meow meow meow.
Anyways,
Yeah, my mom told me when I was just like, oh, she dragged me to church all my life, and then like when I turned 15, she was just like, "Yeah, I've been pretty much agnostic, but I just wanted to give you just something to start with."
A fighting chance in the afterlife.
I'm just like, okay, well, didn't work for me. So
Oh no, yeah. Yeah, we don't I don't want to get into a talk about religion. I've had enough mental stress for one lifetime right now.
yeah, we're not gonna go there.
I could go on a tirade.
Oh, I know, I've heard it from you.
Yeah, I know you have. Anyways, what you got in the news?
Oh, here's one. Eddie Izzard could give up comedy to become first transgender MP, first transgender member of parliament in UK history. Despite record levels of MPs who identify as lesbian, gay, and bisexual, um, said that he plans to run for parliament in the Labour Party next election. He previously teased to run as a Labour candidate for mayor of London, but the incumbent mayor is super popular, so he decided not to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, said he would give up performing entirely if elected. Um, ran for an internal Labour Party position last year, was outvoted. But then also said that that he came out as trans. He said, "I think that coming out as transgender allowed me to put myself in other terrifying situations and work them out once I was in them. I knew I would get through the bad, terrifying bit. And there was a lot of that when I was a street performer to eventually get to a new and more interesting place." Izzard sometimes presents as male and sometimes as female. Despite describing himself as transvestite in the past, in recent years, Izzard has more broadly described himself as transgender. He explained last year during a marathon challenge, "I use it as a badge of identity. I am a transgender guy who came out 31 years ago." The star went on to explain he often identifies as female and male, but that he felt society should not become so obsessed with gender.
Okay, you picked this just because I said I had some strong feelings about it.
Yeah, we
So
conversation, right?
Eddie Izzard considers himself to be a trans man,
The transgender guy.
transgender guy. Okay, is that a British term for?
That's just what he said.
Is that like a trolley and a shopping cart or fries and chips?
I'm just being true to what he said.
Um, I don't know. This gets into I remember reading a story a few years ago, and I think it was we talked about it on one of the very early episodes of this show about the removal of the asterisks from the trans label. So LGBT used to be like, or it was slash is lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans with an asterisk, and the asterisks came about in the 1980s as a way to be more inclusive to transgender men. In the 80s, in the days of internet message boards, and even today, putting an asterisk at the end of a word like trans lets that string be completed by anything. So trans with an asterisk can be like transgender, transvestite, transsexual, all these different things. And so it was made to be like, okay, trans woman is not just the only thing that's out there. So to be more inclusive to trans men, we're going to start using this asterisk. And there was a guy, it was the guy that coined the term metrosexual, who was just a terrible person. He claimed to have started it. And now people were saying no, because it's becoming too inclusive to identities that aren't trans, such as challenge a masculine woman or a feminine man. Those identities were included in there. And so we had a discussion about that, and I think this kind of relates to that, because what makes somebody transgender or not. It's a very dangerous conversation to have because you get into this identity policing.
Mm-hmm.
However, I have always been a huge proponent of the idea that so in America, the Marriage Equality Act was passed. And it was passed as a result of essentially the entire gay community standing up and saying, we all want this. This thing, this is what we want. This very specific thing, we all want it. And I mean, the people who were in charge, who make big decisions like that, came to the gay community and said, what do you want? They said, oh, we all want this. Okay, here you go. Now, if the people in charge, and this is all kind of metaphorical, but hopefully you catch my drift, if those people come to the trans community and say, what do you want? And everyone is divided and everyone is so vastly varied that it's just a jumble of noise. And it's hard to make out what any one particular person wants. Nothing's going to get done. And I don't know.
I don't agree with your characterization of how marriage equality got passed. I mean, the story from how it happened was after Lawrence versus Texas, 2003, which
Mhm.
legalized sodomy nationwide, and made it so that you can do whatever you want in the bedroom as long as it's consensual.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was also Jim Obergefell taking his partner had Lou Gehrig's disease, and was going to die. And
But even before that, even way before that, what it was is after Lawrence versus Texas got settled back in 2003, which I think it's astounding that there was a time where LinkedIn existed, but you couldn't have gay sex in some states legally. After that, there were gay organizations who found and they systematically targeted um, governments whose constitutions had definitions of marriage that were worded vaguely enough that they could mount legal challenges in those states. And they did it systematically to start racking up legal victories and eventually create this snowball effect of more and more.
Mhm.
If Oberfell, if that court case happened, in 2005, probably wouldn't have gone the same way. But it's the queer activists who found individual state governments where they could mount legal challenges, which is, a brilliant strategy, and it worked out tremendously.
Mhm. Yeah, no, and definitely it was not something that was just brought upon by one person or even one small group of people. It was a joint effort, and it needed to be a joint effort. It needed to be a group of people all united in one single goal.
I just disagree with the idea that it was that the decision makers came to.
Oh no, and that is a very loose metaphor.
Yeah.
I mean, public eye shifts all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, what is culturally relevant is going to change very, very quickly. It always has and it always will be.
Yeah.
When the public eye falls onto a certain group, though, that's an opportunity for that group to make very strong strides towards getting their interests met.
Yeah.
And so I think that there certainly was work being done throughout a long period of time. However, big strides were made during times when the public eye was on gay marriage, that issue, or other queer identities.
Right.
So that's what I meant by the people in charge.
Fair enough.
Coming to the community. So I don't know. It gets into very, very murky territory, and For instance, I have a friend, had a friend who um, is gender nonconforming or bigender, and they were assigned female at birth. Um, Grew up, they're now in their 30s and have realized that they are bigender. And both me and another person at the time had chatted and had both kind of said, you know what, there's not really like neither of us would be surprised if they came out as a trans man later on down the road. Like being coming out as bigender was a way of it was a stepping stone. Just like I thought I was gender fluid for a while.
Right.
Um, it's a stepping stone. And so I know like yeah, take gender fluid like taking gender fluid people into the trans label or taking bigender people into the trans label. Like you want to be accepting to people who are questioning their gender identity legitimately and bring them into the trans umbrella. I'm trying to word this that doesn't make me sound like an asshole. And maybe there's not a way for me to word it in that way. Is there a point when the scope of identities in a certain community becomes too large,
Um,
where it becomes more hurtful than helpful?
hmm. I don't know. I mean, I think it's really slippery. Because there's this myth of people identifying as trans because it's cool or
Yeah.
whatever. Which is a myth. It's something that, it's something that is, you have to, there's no way to, like, whether or not it becomes harmful to be accepting. Um, I mean, why police?
Well, I mean, take for instance Rachel Dolezal,
Sure.
who identifies as a person of color.
Right.
He is not a person of color
Right.
and rose up to take a position of power over people who were black and are people of color. And turns out she's a white person, but she identifies as black.
And
That's harmful.
yes, but the difference is that there is no established precedent of someone being quote unquote transracial. And there is lots of historical precedent for being transgender.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have, you know, you have two like straight parents who give birth to a trans child. You can't have two white parents who give birth to a black child.
Yeah. Well, on the other hand, we also have Sam Killerman was the person I was talking about before. Coined the term metrosexual, claimed that he started the movement that put an asterisk at the end of the trans identity. He is he has taken credit for the genderbread man that you see floating around, that you used to see floating around. He had actually stolen that from somebody who had originally created it. Um, I've seen the original Gingerbread Man, and it's a very, very dumbed down version, very simpler version, but it certainly is the modern iteration of the genderbread person was certainly taken from this other person.
Sure.
And so, and the term metrosexual is not. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but for years I've always thought of it to be like a metrosexual guy is just a guy who is a little bit less masculine,
Yeah,
maybe a little bit more feminine.
more or less.
and he has inserted himself and like asserted himself as a leader in the queer community. He is a straight man from Texas, a straight cis man from Texas, and is the only thing that I have seen about him that even comes remotely close to anything queer is the fact that he doesn't necessarily fit the perfect identity of what is a masculine man.
Yeah.
And so does having him be a part of is accepting him as part of the queer community, is that helpful or hurtful?
I mean, accepting a straight cis individual as part of the queer community? No, it's
Yeah. I don't know. It gives me a lot to think about. And this isn't even talking about Eddie Izzard at this point.
right.
It's just what
I mean, the way I see Eddie Izzard, who has been out since before I was born,
mhm,
the way I see it is that, in the 1980s, 1990s, this wasn't talked about. This wasn't, I mean, there were two fields if you wanted to be a transgender person. You're either A, somebody who transitions and, goes stealth for the rest of your life and disappears.
is lucky enough to be able to do that. Yeah.
Or B, you're someone who, I mean, if you stay alive, you're somebody who is a Jerry Springer spectacle or a sex worker or something like that, who's just like kind of cast to the outsides of society. And then there's Eddie Izzard, um, who came up in this world where there wasn't a lot of place, not there was not cultural, um, you know, there was not this broad cultural knowledge of gender identity. There was not this broad cultural knowledge of non-binary identity. Um, Identified as a transvestite for a while, and more recently identifies as transgender. Um, and the thing is we like anybody who's familiar with Eddie Izzard um, knows what they're getting. Like they know what he means by that. That he's gone on stage, in a variety of different, like not in drag. He's spoken to this repeatedly throughout his 3 decades in the public eye. Uh,
Hmm.
he has come out, there's a quote that goes around in a meme or from an interview or whatever where someone asks like, well, why do you wear women's dresses? It's like they're not women's dresses, they're my dresses, and
Yes, I do. I do love that quote.
he's very, very transgressive with gender, but it's always been very clear that that's part of who he is. And in that article, he says that he has male genetics and female genetics. He has things like that, and there's nothing in my mind that disqualifies him from representing the transgender community. Um, he might not use the same language as we do today, but
Yeah.
that language didn't exist for him, and he settled into an identity after 30 years. Like this is the way that he was able to make his life work, and good
Yeah.
on for
And you had said before the show about this. He's been out before either of us were even born.
yes.
Like he kind of has earned the right to take and use any identity that he feels suits him.
There are people who have been out for a long time who say harmful things.
Oh yes.
Don't get me wrong, but Eddie Izzard has. I cannot think of. You know, it's very hard to think of someone who has been that straightforward and out in the open about gender transgression without it being like, I guess, like playing with gender identity without it being, some kind of provocative art, you know?
Yeah, it. I feel like it is in the same. It shares some similar ties to drag culture. However, it's not the playing with gender is not the spectacle.
Right. Like you get the impression with drag or even with, with musicians and performers who, cross gender boundaries, that is part of the art. That is part of the spectacle. With Eddie Izzard, it was always clear that that was part of him.
Yes. I don't know. I I don't know. It still gives me a lot to think about. Um, and I'm definitely not at a place where I could make any kind of snap judgment. I don't um I don't want to disrespect him. I want to respect him because his presence in the public eye and his discussions on gender and his um um what do you say, transgressive,
Um,
the way
yeah.
that he challenged gender norms did a lot of paving for roads that you and I walk on.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to discredit that at all. I think about people, I don't know. Is there a difference between using a trans identity and a transgender identity? I don't know. I don't know. We can go on for it for a while, but we are at our 1 hour mark.
Oh boy.
So I think that'll just about do it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, if you want to talk about Eddie Izzard, if you want to talk about your love for dogs, shoot an email over to diaryofatranswoman@gmail.com. If you want to talk about your love for cats, don't bother.
Oh, no one's gonna be emailing you, Abby.
I will delete those emails before EJ can see them. Um,
No,
huh?
I already know.
No, I don't already know. We're gonna find out, and you're gonna have to take a picture.
Our audience is cat girls all the way.
Our our audience is evenly split,
That's silly.
anywhere from 50-50 to 60-40. If it lands anywhere in that,
Nerd.
oh, it better land in there. All right, so you can find on Twitter, we are at Trans Diary Show. I am at Abby Geek.
I am at ShiamX500.
We are on Facebook, Diary of a Trans Woman. Be sure to go and check us out. I got something that happened.
Oh my gosh, Abby.
We did a thing. We did a thing.
It's in the bag, Abby.
We hit it and then we fell back a little bit. So, but I still went ahead and did it. We now have. I'm gonna leave my microphone and get close to the TV here. We have Diary of a Trans Woman bumper stickers, or just I don't know if they're vinyl stickers. They're good stickers.
You put it on a bumper.
Yeah, you can put it on a bumper.
Put it on your laptop.
Yeah, I put one on my computer already. So, if you are a patron at the $5 or more, hopefully fairly soon you should be expecting a package in the mail with a few of these inside of it. I think that we're going to start kind of brainstorming some ideas for other stickers. This is just kind of the regular podcast art. However, a Tuck Game Strong hashtag sticker would be fun. I think there's a few things we could do that could be fun. I think doing Zilla's art on the banner art that we have for the podcast on a sticker would be awesome. But we're gonna brainstorm that. Where was I? Facebook, Diary of a Trans Woman. If you want to support the show, 5-star reviews on any kind of podcatcher that you use for us. will go a long ways towards helping the show get into the hands of people that can use it.
Go to Patreon. Give us $5 and you get a sticker.
More than one sticker. I'm going to send out like
Dozens of stickers.
I don't know about dozens of stickers.
Thousands of stickers.
Yes, thousands of stickers. If you cut them in tiny little pieces, you can have thousands of stickers. If you really want to support the show, patreon.com/diary of a trans woman. Join the Slack channel, join the fun, help the show do amazing things, and support your trans creators. Do it. That should just about do it. EJ, you got anything else?
Meow.
Roof.
Meow.
All right. Everybody out there,
Meow.
thank you so much for tuning in. For sure, take care and have fun.
Meow, meow. Meow.
Oh, is this not going to work?
It's not
Oh,
gonna-
no. Oh, no.
And you're listening.
Oh, wait. It does work. Hang on. Crap. Volume up.
This is Jim Obergefell, and you're listening to Diary of a Trans Woman.